My Tight Soffit Detail explained, or as Matt Reisinger would put it, modified monopoly framing. Hi guys, I'm Scott True with Demora Homes, and today I want to explain the Tight Soffit Detail that I've come up with that you may have seen recently on YouTube. So in this video I want to explain, first of all, what it is, second of all, how it came about, and then we'll go ahead and turn the camera and show some of the details. So what this detail is it's basically a way to make a continuous air barrier up the wall, across the soffit, up the fascia, and onto the roof. Because the roof to wall connection has always been a little bit problematic, right? Unless you're building a true monopoly framed house where the roof and the wall meet and you tape that and then you build the overhang later, well, that's a lot of work. It's gonna cost extra money labor wise, and something that a lot of framers just won't be comfortable doing. So this is a way to get that same air tightness, but in a simpler construction method that most framers can get and do on their first try. So what it involves is this, underneath this hardy soffit is zip sheathing. So we put that zip sheathing up there in the soffit first, and then I will tape that to the wall. You can see that tape at the very top of the wall. That's taped to my zip sheathing soffit. So there's my air barrier, goes up the wall, across the soffit. Now in Matt Reisinger's video, he taped the sub fascia, which is a really good idea, and then continued that tape up onto the roof. Now, most framers, especially, you know, in kind of the ones that do spec homes, they're not going to be comfortable doing this, and most of them flat out won't do it. I was just told recently by someone that the deckers won't deck the house, you know, if the hardy fascia's not on there. Actually, I'm going to tell you an interesting story about that here in a minute. So from that zip sheathing soffit, since they got to put that hardy fascia on, I'm going to caulk the back side of that hardy fascia to the zip soffit. You can't see that now because we've got the hardy soffit on. And then moving on up, we're going to tape the hardy fascia to the roof. And by doing that, I've got that continuous air barrier going up the wall, across the soffit, up the fascia, and then onto the roof. The way that this came about is I was just trying to make my houses tighter on spec homes where we weren't going to be taking these extra steps, right? So I needed something simple and easy to do. And my thought was, why can't I just make the eave airtight? My original idea was to do exactly what Matt Reisinger did in his video, which was to tape around the sub fascia. I presented that idea to some framers that were working on my personal house, and it was all a go. And then when it came time to do it, it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to give you the short version. They didn't want to do it, and they stormed off, and they abandoned the job site, and I never saw them again. This is actually more common than you think. In this past year, people in this trade have been so busy, they pick and choose their jobs, and they're not going to stick around for things that are not normal. So in this market, my job is to keep things simple. Pretty soon here, the market's going to change, and hopefully those people will be looking for a job, and they'll be more likely to do things my way. So that's how it came about. At the time, I ran the idea by Joe Stebrick. I had attended some seminars, and when you attended seminars, you have access to them through email and can ask questions. This was one of my questions, and he thought it was a good idea. So the original idea got modified. Like I said, those framers stormed off. They didn't want to do it that way. And from that point on, I figured out a way to get the same job done, but with that hardy fascia on. So let's go ahead and show you some details. Now this isn't quite done yet. Actually, it's not done at all. I've just got a little piece done up here just to show you what it's going to look like. So let me see that camera there. So I've got my ladder, and about to show you what we would do here on the roof. Again, we've got our zip sheathing taped. This happens to be a vented part of the soffit because this is garage. But obviously on the living area of the house, it's going to be solid. So on that solid area of the soffit, this zip sheathing is taped to the zip that's behind this hardy soffit. That zip sheathing is going to be cocked to the back side of the fascia so that air barrier touches the fascia. Air barrier goes through the fascia, and then when the guys come back Monday, they're going to tape the whole roof. On this particular house, we're using OSB, normal OSB for the roof decking. I'll explain that later. We're still going to tape all the seams for air tightness so that we have that continuous air barrier. Now from that caulking on the back side of the fascia, that air barrier runs up the hardy fascia, and then we're going to have the whole roof taped to the fascia with Siga tape. Siga tape sticks to concrete and it sticks to hardy as well. And then of course we're going to have all the seams taped like right here, and that is going to be, overlapping the Siga tape. So that's how we get our continuous air barrier up the wall, across the soffit, up the fascia, and onto the roof. That's it. I'll probably explain this again as I go through my series about building a high performance home on a budget. This is actually supposed to be one of the episodes, but I'm explaining it now just because it's being talked about on YouTube and I wanted to give my take on it. So that's it, guys. You can follow me on YouTube and Instagram. Probably not going to do TikTok because I don't really get that, but I'm going to stick to Instagram. So we'll see you next time on Scott True Builds.